So because I had this preconceived notion about parenting, it didn't match with my reality. I felt I was doing something wrong. Something was wrong with me, and maybe I'm not fit to be a good mother. Parenting starts with me first. That I needed to raise my inner child first before I could raise the real child outside of me, the real child in front of me. I needed to raise myself first, and which is where everything starts.
So Section 529 plans are offered by just about every state in the United States except for Wyoming. And what these accounts are special accounts that enable families in the United States to save on a tax advantage basis for a particular purpose, and that purpose is higher education.
Welcome to the Health Conscious Living Podcast. Welcome to the Health Conscious Living Podcast. I'm Dr. Gayle Myers, and today my special guest is Sapna Rad. Sapna is a certified conscious parenting coach, NLP practitioner, and author of the book, Yelling to Zenning. Welcome, Sapna.
Thank you so much for having me, Gayle. It's such pleasure.
It's great to have you. So tell us, how did you go and become a conscious parent? What was your journey?
It started off when I would say way before I had my son, because I had all these ideologies about parenting. Nobody actually told me what parenting was. So I started making up stories, or imagining how parenting would be, which is we would wear matching clothes, we would go shopping, people would comment on us looking cute together. So that was my idea of parenting. How hard can it be? You feed the child, you put them to sleep, you take them out. This is what I thought parenting was. But when my son was born, the whole idea was shattered. He was not sleeping through the night, which what most babies do. I had to wake up every couple of hours to check on him. He was gagging. He would fall sick quite often. I was tired, confused. I didn't know if I was doing something wrong because I thought parenting, this is what I heard. Oh, you're going to enjoy parenting. It's going to be beautiful. And I used to see babies and I was like, oh, they're so cute. I thought I would be playing with them all the time. So because I had this preconceived notion about parenting, it didn't match with my reality. I felt I was doing something wrong, or worse, something was wrong with me, as I was not doing the right things, and maybe I'm not fit to be a good mother. All those things were not helping. They were making me feel even worse, and I was not fully being present for my child. I knew I had to do something. I needed to change something. So I went on this quest on figuring out what is happening within me, what I can change. Actually, I went out seeking, maybe there's a book that's going to give me a 1, 2, 3 steps to manage your child, put him to sleep, getting him to eat. While those were helpful, I was still getting frustrated. He was not like, one day he would eat, one day he would not eat, one day he would sleep, one day he would not sleep. And it's just frustrating me. Though those books were giving me the 1, 2, 3 steps, it was not fully helping. So I had to go deeper, dig deeper, go on this quest, really.
And as you did that, what did you discover about yourself?
That parenting starts with me first. That I needed to raise my inner child first before I could raise the real child outside of me, the real child in front of me. I needed to raise myself first, and which is where everything starts.
Yes.
Because when my child was having a tantrum, I was having another tantrum.
The mirror.
Yeah. I had to heal that first.
And so how did you do that? And how did that change your well-being and then shift your parenting relationship?
I was baffled at all this knowledge that's not mainstream.
Mm,
We had nobody talks about these things. In fact, what I noticed in my surroundings was it was shameful to talk about an issue. And we were told as mothers that we are all giving, we had to put our children first, um, which which was kind of conflicting for me, because I would see when I saw mothers go out, when I went out, I would see other mothers feeding their children first. And I couldn't do that because I was starving. I would get annoyed at my child. But the story or this belief that I needed to take care of my child first was coming on in my forefront. I was hungry. I was frustrated. I was like, okay, come on. I need to shift this. So I had to break some patterns, meaning I had to be okay with what other people thought. I had to break some patterns, and actually choose my well-being and choose my child over everything else in
beautiful.
every aspect. In every aspect, what classes he takes, how much of how many how is he doing in his studies, is he a good sports person, how much is his grading in math. All that I had to put aside and focus on my child, attune to my child. That attunement came from attuning to myself. And I
Beautiful.
learned through tapping into myself, and that started my journey to go deeper into meditation. That's how it happened, step by step.
And so as you went deeper into meditation, you went deeper to connect with yourself, with your authentic self, your real self. And how did that, what changed for you at that point? And then how did that bring out the authentic child that you were raising?
When I went into meditation, I had to sit with myself, all parts of myself that I was carrying, not only parenting, in every aspect, at
Mhm.
my work, at with my spouse, with my friends, with the relationship with myself. Everything came to the forefront. I had to look into every aspect of my life, every story I was believing, every wound that was unhealed. I had to sit with that. Meaning what? I had to sit with the sensations that were showing up. And what I realized was, especially, which is true in parenting, we are so afraid of pain. And we are trying everything possible to protect our children from pain. Why? So that we can protect ourselves from our pain of watching them in pain. You see?
Mm. Hmm.
Because nobody taught us
Right.
how to sit with the pain. So when as I learned, these are just sensations. I'm just saying just, but there's so much in it. These are sensations in the body, and are passing. There's nothing to be scared about them. They just come and go. You don't have to react to them.
Hmm.
I was able to bring that presence into my relationship with my child, meaning what? When he is going through the flow of life, he is going through some kind of disappointment in life. This is what life is, right? Ebb and flow. There are happy moments, there are sad moments, we are disappointed, we are frustrated. I was able to be present with him, meaning he could see that there's nothing to be afraid of. This passes by. I was not reacting as much.
Mm.
So I was holding space for whatever he was feeling. So that reduced the fear in him, which was so helpful because he would go through the emotions and come out of it very fast.
Nice.
Rather than making it bigger, I would get frustrated, he would get frustrated, and it gets stuck in the body.
Yes.
Yeah, you know this as a doctor, you know this.
Yes.
Two things happen. It's better that the emotions are all out instead of in, right?
Mm.
That starts with the parent.
And it's so important. I talk about that we're spiritual beings on a human adventure. to learn and grow and gain wisdom and share our gifts with the world. And in that journey, we have this experience of life and love and relationships with ourselves and others. And those feelings are information, but they don't have to rule us, right? They're information, but there's a part of us that's so much greater. And that when we connect with that part of us, that's where the wisdom, the peace, the greater vision, the greater perspective. And to teach a child that, because don't you think they pretty much come in with that? And then they learn because of all the stuff going around them and all the generational patterns that are in their lives that they're here to learn from and heal as well. They can begin to see that this isn't like a permanent condition. It's like feelings are the moment. They're telling us something. And then as we can connect to that deeper part of us that's at peace, then we get to come out of it on the other side, much, like you said, much faster.
Yes. One of the most, innocent, sincere thing a parent wants is for the child to be happy. You ask any parent, what do you want for your child? They would say, I want them to be happy. But what they're missing out is, have you seen any life form go through that? Happy, 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 happy. I
all the
wish
time.
we were taught how to go through every emotion, not just happiness. Yeah, even that is fleeting. But how do you go through all emotions? That would be so empowering because then we are not reacting constantly.
Yes.
We're responding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, that's what meditation taught me.
Me too. To respond from our inner wisdom, our inner divinity, and not reacting to the world and reacting to how we're reacting to the world. And that in and of itself is such a gift. This has been lovely. What 3 things do you have to share with the audience? Pearls of wisdom.
Pearls of wisdom. 3 things. There's so many things, but my favorite thing is do the work. It's not as hard as we think it is, but it's going to improve every area of your life. And first step is wanting that. Second is taking those little steps towards what you want. And third is be kind to yourself.
Beautiful. That is so lovely. Sapna, how can people can find your book on Amazon, and how can they get in touch with you and follow you on social media?
Yeah, my social media account is Sapna Rad, R-A-D, coaching. And they can always connect with me. They can DM me and they can go to my website. That is sapnarad.com.
Great. Well, thank you. This has been a pleasure today. And I know that the audience can take home actionable pearls to benefit them in all ways, but especially as conscious parenting. And they take that journey. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Gayle.
I'm Dr. Gayle Myers, and today my special guest is Patricia Roberts. Patricia has spent over 2 decades educating families about preparing for the cost of higher education and has helped thousands of families avoid millions of dollars in student loan debt. Welcome, Patricia.
Thank you so much, Gayle, for having me here today. I'm really happy to be with you.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. And today you're going to tell us all about the 529 plan. You are changing the futures and the lives of millions of students and parents through your work with the 529 plan. So tell us about it.
Absolutely. And this topic is one that's really important for individuals to know about because 2/3 of Americans indicate they do not know what a 529 plan account is. So I'm happy to help educate your audience. So Section 529 plans are offered by just about every state in the United States except for Wyoming, and the District of Columbia has a plan as well. And these plans are named after the section of the Internal Revenue Code that governs how they work, and that's Section 529. And what these accounts are special accounts that enable families in the United States to save on a tax advantage basis for a particular purpose, and that purpose is higher education. So when after tax earnings are contributed to 529 plan accounts, and when they grow in value, the earnings are not taxed. Unlike other forms of savings and investing, you may recall at year end, you get a tax statement on your bank savings account, maybe on a mutual fund account, some other form of savings or investing. With 529 plan accounts, you're not paying tax along the way. So less tax can mean more money for higher education. And in fact, when those funds are eventually withdrawn and used for a wide range of educational experiences, not just college, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, those earnings are never taxed. And then beyond that, 37 states and the District of Columbia offer an annual state tax deduction or credit to incent their residents to prepare for the cost of higher education. And I think you reside in one of those states that has an annual state tax credit. So there's wonderful advantages to these accounts. They involve putting money away for a particular purpose rather than having a general use savings account that you may divert for other means. This is an intended purpose. What's also great about 529 plan accounts is that you can get started with very little money. Many of the states enable residents and others to open an account with $25 or even less. Another attribute of 529 that you should know about is that the account owner, whoever that may be, it does not have to be a parent of a future student. It could be a grandparent, could be an aunt or uncle, a godparent, a friend or neighbor. You don't even need to be related to the individual for whom you're saving. But whoever you are, as the account owner, you are in control at all times of that 529 plan account. And that's important because there are other forms of savings and investing for young people that when they've reached the age of majority, 18 or 21, depending on the state that they're in, they get their hands on the funds and they can use them for any purpose. That's not the case with the 529 plan account. And I like to point that out because the account owner stays in control. So if the child's going off in a direction that you're not satisfied with, or they need a gap year or two to figure themselves out, it's okay. You can keep those funds in the account and you can always change the beneficiary to a member of the family of the original beneficiary. So there's plenty of interesting and valuable attributes to these accounts. I hope I've given you a flavor of some of them.
Absolutely. So when should a parent start?
Well, as parents, we have a lot on our plates. So I want all of your listeners to give themselves grace wherever they are in their parenting journey. Certainly, the sooner you get started, the better. And why is that? It gives you more time to save and more time for those investments to grow in value. You can get started as soon as the child arrives. Once you have a Social Security number and date of birth for that future student. You could even get started before the child arrived by naming yourself as the account beneficiary. So you'd be the account owner and the beneficiary. And if you're related to the child or the child to be, as I said before, you can always switch the beneficiary. So you could change it to that newborn child once you have their date of birth. So never too early to begin. So start as soon as you can, save what you can, but know that you're making an impact by doing so.
what was really interesting to me, because you educated me, and as a grandparent, we were able to help our grandson. And I loved your book and contacted the state of Vermont, and they educated me. They had a really good support customer service, and they walked me through the whole process. And what's so wonderful is that the money that you put in, the interest that it accrues, is also not taxable, like you said. So I went into one of my physicians who just had twins, and I said, "Do you have a 529 plan?" And she said, "Yes, we do." And we're telling the grandparents and the cousins and the aunts and everybody to donate, to give. These are the gifts they need to be giving at Christmas and their birthdays. And I mean, Legos are great. They have plenty of Legos, so they could really use this gift. And it is a gift of a lifetime when you think about it, an entire lifetime, because what education does and the freedoms that it gives us is really worth the time and the investments.
So I work with employers of all sizes across the U.S. Some are giving a $100 contribution whenever an employee opens a 529 account. Others are giving up to $5,000 a year into these accounts. It really depends on the employer, but matching and contributing really gets employees excited. They don't like to leave money on the table, and it gets them interested in saving, and they certainly appreciate their employer in knowing that that person really cares about what they may be struggling with. And since these 529 accounts are not only for younger people who may be aspiring for higher education someday, adult learners as well can contribute to them. So some employers are recognizing helping with 529 savings can help their workforce better retool themselves, gain additional skills, and they're valuing that.
Absolutely brilliant. It's helping the parent, it's helping the student, it's helping the parents, it's helping higher education, it's helping the future of our country. It's helping really the extent to how many people and how many ways it's helping is just, it's exponential. So tell us, Pat, how did you get inspired to work on this?
Well, let me first show you a picture of that recent grad. This is Ben. I hope you can see it.
Yes.
I was intent on saving for his future because his dad and I were weighed down by a tremendous amount of student loan debt when he arrived in our lives in 1993. We both had undergraduate degrees. My husband had a master's degree. We both had met in law school at night. We were weighed down by over $100,000 in debt, and we both came from low-income backgrounds where no one was able to save or prepare for our future. Certainly, these accounts were not around at that time, but we had no level of preparation as first-generation college goers. I personally almost missed the chance to attend college because of the fragile state of my family and because of cost. But I do know, despite the student loan debt that we had to pay down, we both believed firmly that attaining higher education enabled us to greatly improve our lives and improve the lives of our extended families as well. And as a result, we really believed in wanting to prepare for our son's higher education too. So we started taking a little at a time, and I did it out of my paycheck, which is why I'm so intent on telling others to consider this. We had a small one-bedroom apartment. We now had to pay for childcare. We had no idea how we were going to afford this, but we started just a little at a time. We might have taken $25 or so out of our paycheck. I was fortunate to know about 529 plan accounts because as an attorney early in my career, I was working on them from a legal perspective just as they were becoming popular in the late 1990s. So I at least had the familiarity, but we did a little at a time. We set our vision on what we wanted it to look like when this baby would someday grow up, and we wanted him to be free of the stress that we had. And that vision we held close to our hearts, and we just kept saving.
Yes. And again, it's investing for the future, and it's opening up a whole new world for him that's prepared him. And the other piece of it is coming out debt free or with a low amount of debt that's manageable, is that the mental and emotional weight that comes off with that has got to make all the difference in terms of education choices, life choices, and just general happiness. And so that's really a phenomenal gift.
Sure is.
One last question before we get to the final one. So for people who are going to grad school or going to medical school or law school, is any of this applicable to that?
Yes, these accounts can be used for a wide range of educational experiences, not just traditional 4-year college. It could be used for a community college, other 2-year institutions, trade or technical school, Gayle, that gets overlooked all the time. These accounts can be used for trade and technical school, registered apprenticeships, graduate and professional studies. So we're talking cosmetology school through dental school and all sorts of things in between. So absolutely, positively, they can be used for graduate school. That was your one question just now. Absolutely.
That's great to know. I was speaking to a physician recently about the cost of medical education now and the debt that they're coming out with. And this is, when parents know that, you can start preparing early on. So thank you for that. So now, what would you like to leave the audience with?
Well, I hope I've educated your audience. I hope I've also inspired them in some way to know there are simple steps you can take to avoid or minimize that future for a child that you love with student loan debt. So I suggest take a look online. If you're not familiar with 529 plans, take a look up your state name and the numbers 529 and see what your state has to offer, as Gayle did. They have wonderful call centers where you can call and have your questions answered. And I would suggest doing that. You don't need to invest in your home state program, although many do, but it's a great place to start. The other thing I would do is get started. Once you feel you have the information you need, don't put it off. There's no reason to put it off. Get started, get that account open, even with a small amount. Set up automatic contributions. Ask your employer if they might be willing to help in some way. And then certainly ask friends and family for the next birthday, the next holiday, the next milestone or special occasion. Could they consider not spending their time shopping and guessing what your child might like, what might fit or not fit, but instead contributing toward the 529 account? I think you'll be very glad that you did that. And I bet you people who love your child would be happy to contribute towards something that's not going to be outgrown, that's not going to wind up in a closet, attic, landfill, but instead is an investment in that child.
Thank you so much for being here today with us and for helping us to know more about the 529 plan and inspiring millions.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you for watching. If you would like to work with me for more insight, go to my website and book a private session. And check out my latest transformational meditation. Have a blessed day.